just about everything that we need to know. So we have this presentation this afternoon by Sister Avonelle. Um, I don't know if she has a title, but we know it's about nutrition. So we'll have that, and then after the presentation, we'll have some questions, and hopefully by 4:30 we can start our Bible study on Revelation. So we'll, at this moment, what I'll do now is to hand over to Sister Avonelle. Sister Avonelle, you ready to go?
Yes,
All right.
ready as I can.
Take it away. Take it away. Over to you.
Just to tell you a little about myself, I have a nursing background. I studied nursing slash nutrition slash homeopathy slash a bit of naturopathy. So my first course of study was nursing. And I did nursing for a few years, many years, 20-something years, and decided to go back to school and do natural medicine. Yeah, so this afternoon, we are going to address the immune system. And we all know that we need a very optimum functioning immune system to be healthy. So I broke it down in 4 different parts. And if by any chance I use any terminology that you do not understand, I will try to use the layman's terms as much as possible. But if I should use a term that you do not understand, please just give me the heads up. Okay, so we are going to do function of the immune system. Now, the task of the immune system is to identify those things that are cells, which naturally belong to the body. And those things that are non-cells are foreign or harmful things. And then to neutralize or destroy those that are non-cells, which are foreign or harmful to the body. Now, that process defends the body against infection. It is very, very complex. It's a complex network of cells and proteins. And the main parts of the immune system are the white blood cells, antibodies, the lymphatic system, the spleen, bone marrow, and the thymus. Now, I don't expect you to remember all that, but I'm just mentioning a few. The immune system keeps a record of every germ, every foreign disease-causing organism it has ever defeated, so it can recognize and destroy the microbe very, very quickly if it enters the body again. So the immune system, to put in layman's terms, has its own built-in paper trail. Anything that enters, it will recognize if it re-enters. So abnormalities of the immune system can lead to allergic and autoimmune diseases. The lymphatic system, for example, manages fluid levels and reacts to bacteria. It also deals with cells such as cancer cells and all foreign cells, disease cells. Another major role is it performs the absorbing of fats in our diet from the intestine. So a lack thereof results in obesity. So people that are overweight, if you want to lose the weight and lose it quickly, work on your lymphatics. Yeah. Oh, by the way, the T cells are the killer cells in the immune system. I think if my memory serves me right, they are also called phagocytes. If I'm wrong, the other professionals there can correct me. They're called phagocytes. They will devour anything in layman's in layman's terms, I'll say anything that won't talk back at it, anything foreign, it will devour. These are the killer cells. And also, I will touch on the abnormalities of the immune system, which can lead to allergies, I mentioned that, I think, and autoimmune diseases. And autoimmune diseases such as, say, lupus, celiac disease, diabetes, diabetes mellitus, which is type 1 diabetes, and MS, multiple sclerosis, psoriasis, and rheumatoid arthritis, to mention a few. Okay, and when I'm done, you can ask questions, or you can ask questions right now if you wish. Are we asking questions after, Pastor, or we go through the entire thing and then ask questions?
No, go through and then after we can ask a question.
Okay. So we are going to touch on a weakened immune system. When the immune system is very weak, it increases the susceptibility to almost every type of illness. Some very common signs of weakened immune function include fatigue, listlessness, repeated infection, inflammation, allergic reaction, just to mention a few. And foods that weaken the immune system are, but true, marijuana, mercury in dental fillings have been linked to a weakened immune system. Your person's mental state, your lifestyle, an underactive thyroid, and food allergies. Also, inadequate rest. And when I say inadequate rest, there must be a balance between rest and activity. You must include playtime in your daily routine. It should be an ideal activity of daily living. And inadequate nutrition, poor living conditions, bad habits, and as we all know, bad habits die hard. Chemotherapy, poor dental hygiene. And people have asked before, what do you mean poor dental hygiene? I'm not talking about halitosis, because many things can cause halitosis. I'm talking about poor mental hygiene, whereby you do not see the dentist and you have dental caries. These dental caries can get so bad. Some people have root canals and everything. When a bacteria gets in there, it can fit into the bloodstream, and it can affect the heart, the function of the heart, and you can develop heart disease. That's another thing. And the dysfunctional environment is another thing, like dysfunctional homes. Also free radicals. And free radicals, when I say free radicals, I mean free radicals are unstable atoms that can damage cells, collagen. Okay? So, just a second, I lost my. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So, we are going on to the immune system and the aging process. Very interesting topic. There is almost always decreased activity of lymphocytes or T cells functioning during the aging process. These are the cells of the immune system responsible for the cell-mediated immune response. And without them, our capacity to react to antigen exposure is limited. Hence, the natural killer cells become less active, increasing the predisposition of the older population to such diseases as cancer, infections, and many other chronic and acute illnesses. And also malnutrition and protein deficiency are responsible for insufficient antibody production. We all know that protein is used in the body to build and repair. Okay? Some people also lose their sense of smell and taste. And taking a little zinc every day can increase the acuity of taste and smell. Vitamin C, which is a bioflavonoid, is very important for collagen fibers formation, and bioflavonoid strengthens the vascular wall and increases vitamin C absorption, which in turn strengthens the immune system. So people blame the aging process for everything. And you hear things like, oh, you know, I'm getting there. It's the age. I'm getting old. I'll address that later because it's not always the aging process or because you're getting old. Sometimes it's just lack of care or indifference, not eating the right foods, not getting adequate rest, you know, not being in the right state of mind, always angry, you know. So it's not only your age at all. Now, the foods that support the immune system are many. I'll just name a few, like algo local, and or inexpensive, I should say. For example, vitamin C, ginger, turmeric, omega-3. And by the way, omega-3, when you're buying omega-3, be very careful what type of omega-3 you consume. Garlic, I'll give you a few hints. Garlic, lemon juice, or just lemon, the juice, the skin, it's all good. If you can withstand the bitterness of the seeds, that's even better. And cinnamon. So these are very inexpensive immune system boosters. So let's go to the foods that support the immune system. Local and inexpensive foods such as all organic, not inorganic. One thing you can't afford to ingest all the pesticides that they put in the foods today. So please, whenever you buy, no matter how small, make it organic. Organic tofu, garlic, sweet potatoes, pumpkin seeds and herbs such as ginger, turmeric, rosemary, green tea, not black tea, green tea, oregano, black radish, licorice root and clover, dandelion and milk thistle. And I should point out that people suffering from hypertension should avoid licorice root and red curry and ginseng. If you are hypertensive, you should get Siberian ginseng instead. Okay? Fresh fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, and other foods that are high in fiber should be a staple. I'll repeat that. High fiber foods should be your staple. DHEA, I'll explain what that means, and HGH can also enhance the functioning of the immune system. People with underlying health problems should, first of all, people with underlying health problems should not eat certain foods, like foods high in oxalates. Okay? There are many, many foods high in oxalates, but I'll just give you a few examples. Beans. And our folks in the Caribbean, we like our beans, guys. We like our beans, but we can't all tolerate beans. And some of us should not be eating beans at all. Beer, and I'm saying beer very candidly. Beer, guys, beer, B-E-E-R. And beets, berries, chocolate, coffee, cranberries, and dark green leafy vegetables can be very bad for you, especially if you suffer from gallstones, kidney stones. And it's very high in spinach, nuts, oranges, rhubarb, to mention a few. And there are foods that support the immune system, like, let's go local again. I mentioned tofu and garlic. Sweet potatoes, although sweet potatoes are very high in oxalates, so eat moderately. Pumpkin seeds are also high. Eat moderately, and also ginger. Ginger is not high in oxalate. Okay, so by the end of the day, it's not very expensive to take care, or difficult to take care of your immune system. You can go inexpensive and nutritious. Just know how to shop, that's all. And as marvelous as it is, the immune system can work as it is supposed to work if cared for properly. And this means getting all the right nutrients that you can and providing the right environment. Plus avoiding things that tend to depress immunity. Okay? And that is all I have to add to the immune system. If you have any questions, please feel free, or comments. Hello.
All right.
Hi.
Thank you so much, Sister Avonelle, for that presentation. Before we go into the questions, just want to thank you so much for that presentation. So what we'll do now, we'll have the floor open. We also have standing by Rick and Adam, who will assist as well. And so please go ahead. We have until 4:30, so as many questions as we can get in as quick as possible, we can go ahead and do that. So the floor is now open for questions.
Hi, thank you, Sister Avonelle, for your presentation. What benefits do you think vitamin 3D has towards the immune system?
Vitamins what?
3D.
But I didn't hear. I didn't hear.
Vitamin 3D or D3?
You mean D3?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, D3 is very, very good for the immune system. And some people say, I don't buy vitamin D3, I just go in the sun. You know, sunlight, you need vitamin D for your immune system. It plays a very vital role in strengthening your immune system. And you get it from sunlight. And no, people don't go out much. But what I do, I open my window and I put on short clothes and I sit on a chair and I stay there for about half an hour. You know, yes, you need vitamin D.
And not follow up on, I need to ask this too. You said that when the immune system is compromised, usually it's things like, you know, disease and all these things. Now that someone inherited, meaning that others in their family may have their immune may be compromised, even as someone who is a 10-year-old. Is it because of why it's in the DNA, as we would say?
Yes, it could be, and it can be, but some people say, oh, this disease is hereditary, and that is hereditary. My mother had this, and you can always combat that disease by building your immune system. That doesn't mean because your mother had cancer, you have to get cancer. If you are very cognizant to the cancer-causing organisms out there, if you take great interest in your health, the things that you eat, the foods that you consume, and the places that you go, the people that you mingle with, your total environment, okay, and just maintaining a healthy state of mind, you know, and all these things help. But that doesn't, hereditary is something that, you know, they say, people believe that hereditary plays a huge role in diseases and people having different kinds of diseases. Yes, it may play a role like diabetes mellitus, but if you take care of your health and you say to yourself, I am not going to get diabetes type 1. I'm going to do this, that to take care of my pancreas, eat this and that, do your own research. Fight back tooth and nail and try to prevent the disease. And you can. You know, it has happened before with many people.
So we are saying that we could be predisposed to it, but at the same time we can take measures.
Yes. And you can either prevent it or retard it. If you can't prevent it, you can certainly retard it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hi, this is Adam here. I just want to make a comment about vitamin D, if that's okay.
Yes, sure.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. So the role vitamin D has in the immune system is actually quite extensive. It's probably more important to the immune system than it is to the skeletal system. Most people just think it's a vitamin that helps you build bone and absorb calcium. But vitamin D has this kind of special role where your immune system always has to be running at the right temperature. You don't want it looking for things it shouldn't look for, which is that's autoimmunity, and you want it to be up to speed to find the stuff that to find the things that it really should be looking for, and destroying, you know, any insult to the body, such as viruses or bacteria. And vitamin D has this kind of unique role where it helps the immune system run, you know, kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It doesn't run too hot, it doesn't run too cold, it just runs just right. And so if you have a proper amount of vitamin D in your system, it helps modulate the immune system. So it's not attacking things it shouldn't attack. But the immune system is functioning fully. And so, you know, what we see with this COVID virus that's running around, a lot of times the problems aren't necessarily the virus itself. Your body takes that, destroys it, and gets rid of it. But what happens is that the excessive attack that the body goes into, the excessive inflammation that happens after you have this virus. And so what they're finding is people who have really poor vitamin D status, they go into that kind of excessive attack, or if it's really poor, they don't attack it enough, and the virus itself gets them. But what really does the damage is this extreme inflammation that happens after you've actually gotten rid of the virus. It attacks the lungs, it attacks the blood vessels. It really does some damage. And people with poor vitamin D status, people who are really low on vitamin D, tend to be the people that go to this type of outcome. So, for instance, there's a fairly good study out there that shows that 80% of the people that go into ICU and die, they have really poor vitamin D status. Another really small one, although a good study but quite small, they did in I think it was India. The people came in, or it might have been, this one might have actually been in Norway. The people who came in with coronavirus who were struggling enough to come into ICU, what they did is they gave them a really high injection of the end products. When you take vitamin D in, the vitamin D that you eat or that you get from sunlight isn't the end product. Your body has to transform that into a few different things, into the functional vitamin D, and so that takes about 3 to 5 days, sometimes as long as 7 days. So what they did was they gave these people a really high dose of what that end product was, the stuff that would take 3 to 5 days for them to build if they just give them the vitamin D on its own. And so when they gave these people the end product, the calcidiol, they found the people that they gave that to, none of them progressed to ICU and none of them died. The people that they didn't give it to, a lot of people ended up in ICU, and on ventilators, and quite a number of those people died. Now that's a small study. They're doing a bigger one now to make sure that that wasn't just luck, but that makes sense given what vitamin D does in the body. So I mean, vitamin D has a really nice immune modulating role. For people who live up here in Canada, you can really only get vitamin D from the sun between May and October. After that, the angle of the sun in our latitude doesn't affect any changes in your skin. It doesn't. Your skin doesn't get hit with enough photons per square inch for your skin to produce the vitamin D. So, when I was a kid, or when many of us were kids, we'd run around with our shirts off or sleeveless or in shorts for all summer long. From May to September, October, we were getting tons of vitamin D, and your body builds that towards that. And so, back then, we were probably building up enough to maybe not get us all the way through the winter, but to get us mostly through the winter, and then we start building vitamin D again. Now, many of us are so worried about skin cancer, and we put sunscreen on and we stay out of the sun, that we don't build up enough vitamin D. In fact, most of us, I would almost guarantee that most of us don't build up enough vitamin D over the summer months in Canada. And so the vast majority of us come January are already deficient in vitamin D. In fact, we might be deficient all year round. So for most of my patients, what I recommend is, if they are getting sun in the summer, I don't really tell them to worry about it, because a half hour to an hour in the sun gives you 8,000 to 10,000 international units, which is plenty. But if you're not getting that amount of time in the sun, then I tell people in the summertime that they should really be taking probably 1,000 international units and then come winter months, 2,000 to 4,000 a day is really a good dose to keep the immune system running the way it should be. The other thing is, we know that vitamin D, the reason it makes sense that vitamin D helps with coronavirus is that we know that for other cold and flu viruses, and some of those are coronaviruses, some of those are adenoviruses, we know that vitamin D status is beneficial for either getting a very mild form of those disease, or when you get it, you get over it faster. So that vitamin D is essential. And up here in Canada, by the time October hits, it doesn't matter. You could sit out, and it could be a sunny day. You could sit out in that sun all day long, and you're not getting any vitamin D. So really, it's important for most Canadians, and to take a vitamin D supplement through the winter, unless they're getting a lot of sun. Like if you work outside all day in the summer, then maybe you don't. But for most of us, we sit inside now. So so that's just one thing I'd like to mention about. That's kind of long-winded, but hopefully I didn't bore you there.
I have a question.
Thanks so much, Adam.
Oh,
Yeah,
I have a question.
Thanks, Adam.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
So for people of color, someone like myself, should I be taking more than the vitamin D? I mean, more than the recommended 4 or 5,000 in the winter, because our skin doesn't absorb it as quickly, right? So
well, yeah, you're right about that for sure. For sure, there's a decrease in absorption. The darker your skin, the less you absorb it. But that's 4,000 is good for anybody, because that's not absorbable, right? So the people, everybody in the winter is not getting vitamin D. So 4,000 is, I think, plenty. In the summertime, you might take more than 1,000. But if you are in the sun, you're gonna. It's surprising how much vitamin D you get in such a short time in the sun. The more you're, I would say after about an hour, everybody will at least get. It doesn't matter how dark your skin is, you're going to be getting between 2,000 to 8,000 international units. I mean, the lighter your skin, the more you're going to get, but of course, then there's a chance of burning. So you have to kind of balance that out a bit. But most people will be fine to get a half hour, and that would do fine without sunscreen. Obviously, without sunscreen. As soon as you put sunscreen on, you're not getting any vitamin D. Right? So, so I mean, the darker your skin, the less you're going to absorb, but you will absorb, especially in the peak months in Canada, you'll absorb plenty.
Okay, what about the people? What about the people with malabsorption problems and they do not absorb the vitamin D?
Like digestion?
Can it reach toxic levels? Can't it reach toxic levels if they don't absorb the vitamin D?
You can reach toxic levels with vitamin D, but we're talking large doses over a long period of time, right? We're talking like nothing like I'm suggesting. I mean, there's really very few documented cases of vitamin D toxicity, and those are people that mistook, vitamin D for instance, this one group of people thought they were cooking with oil, but it was actually vitamin D oil, and so they were getting like 60,000 international units a day for like weeks at a time, and so those people, they got some toxicity. Now, vitamin D toxicity will, as soon as you quit taking vitamin D, your body, will reverse itself. But nobody in that 1,000 to 4,000 range that I can see in any research that I've found suggests that 1,000 to 4,000 international unit range is in any way toxic. Now, as we get older, we do get a lot less absorption, so that's something to bear in mind. So you can't, but if vitamin D is fat soluble, so if you take vitamin D with food, absorption is usually quite good, even as we age. But a lot of people will take the vitamins, they'll take the vitamins and then an hour later they'll eat. But if they take vitamin D with a food source that has a little bit of fat in it, your absorption is usually quite well. As we age, we do lose vitamin absorption, but not nearly as much as the fats. Like the fat soluble vitamins are almost always well absorbed, as long as you take them with food. If you take them on their own, then they're poorly absorbed. But with stuff like iron and minerals that really have an impact as we age, we really start to poorly absorb those things.
So what would you suggest for person with malabsorption problems?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to know how that would. You almost need blood tests for that, to be honest. Like if you can't absorb the vitamin D, then you'd have to. You almost have to have a blood test, because I wouldn't just say you're having poor absorption, so take another 10,000, because I don't know what that would do to you. You'd have to have a blood. At that stage, you almost would like to have a blood test to say, this is where your blood levels of vitamin D are. Okay, let's up that and see if that makes a difference. If that doesn't make a difference, then we got to give you more. Or even think about something like a sun lamp, because, but yeah, without.
I send them in the sunlight. I send them in the sun, and it works every time. The sun works every time.
Especially in the summertime, I'd be hesitant to do it in the winter, because you just don't get enough rays. You'd have to be out there forever.
All right, thanks very much, Adam.
Sorry, just one more on top of that. So with the vitamin D, is it better to do the droplets or the oil? And do you have to take it with another supplement like a vitamin C or magnesium or anything else like that, or is just straight vitamin D is fine?
With D, drops or oil, drops or the tablets don't make a difference. One is just the drops are the exact same thing as in your capsule. It's just that you swallow the capsule. Drops were great for kids because kids don't like to swallow things. Or I have chewable vitamin D that I give kids in my office. But there's a lot of research now that suggests that taking vitamin K with vitamin D is quite helpful. So if you want to source a vitamin D with a vitamin K in it, it seems to help the vitamin D do some of its immune functioning, and also if there's any potential for overcalcification, vitamin K seems to be the vitamin that will help that. But as far as something like magnesium or vitamin C is great for the immune system as well, but it works on a totally different pathway. And it works good for other coronaviruses.
Does vitamin D work better with if you have something oily in your side? Yeah, well, that's something you could, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you want to take your D with food. That is the biggest thing, because there's just not enough in a capsule to trigger your pancreas and liver to release the enzymes that absorb fat there's just not enough in a pill. So if you take it with a meal, that will really help the absorption.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Thanks much. I have a quick question here in the chat, so I'll just ask. It said, what food should you avoid during COVID-19? I think that's a very good question. We are locked in and we are eating. So is there any suggestion from any of the panelists regarding what food we should avoid during COVID-19?
So I'll make a quick comment. It's Rick here.
Go ahead, Rick.
Recently, I read an article about vitamin D and the high fructose corn syrup food that is we find in many of our foods actually blocks the transition of D3 into its active form. So probably most sugars are going to be harmful in terms of our immune system. I noticed Bonita made a comment there about sugars, and that's very true. So one of the things that we should avoid in our diet is excessive amounts of sugar. And we're talking about refined sugars here. We're not talking about an apple or an orange. We're talking about refined sugars because of the impact it has on our vitamin D transition into the active form, and probably many other reasons as well.
Also,
anything,
Pastor, when you consume refined carbohydrates, that's also sugar. Okay, yeah. So you have to cut back on refined carbohydrates, like white rice, white flour, white bread, because once it's metabolized, it's also simple sugars that you're ingesting, okay? And that goes into the blood very rapidly. So you have to avoid those foods.
Okay, thanks a lot.
So anything,
go ahead.
Let me, if I can just, anything that, I would consider that would lead to so what you want to avoid right now, and COVID is, it seems to really harm the people that that have an increase in inflammation in their system. So you want to avoid anything that that would move you towards that. So some trans fats, things like trans fats, things like the white, refined flour, refined sugar, large doses of that tend to lead to a more inflammatory state in your system. And certain fats will also do that. Certain fats that are saturated fats will, your body has a choice to pick on what immune modulators it's going to make. And if all it has to choose from is the type of fat that are really highly inflammatory, it will make those highly inflammatory products so that when you do have something and your body does attack it, there's going to be much more inflammation involved. So things like olive oil and flaxseed oil and fish oils, those things lead to different byproducts in your system that when your body goes to fight something, much less inflammatory response. And so things like that, so you just lean away from some of those refined foods and some of those fats that aren't good for you, and lean towards more, things that are, again, not so refined, and the fats that are better for you. Your body is less likely to go in that all-out inflammatory kind of war that it goes into against this or any other virus. And so those are the things that you should be staying away from, and then also leaning towards. So fish oils, flaxseed oils, olive oils. As an Italian, I have to give olive oil a plug. So.
All right. Thanks so much. Okay. Any other question regarding the presentation or anything related that you may want to ask? Please go ahead.
So two other things, just in regard to COVID, two other nutrients that really come to my attention lately that don't have quite the backing that vitamin D has, but are also seem to be quite beneficial. So zinc is something that your immune system uses all the time to fight things, and so the better your zinc status, it seems, the better you cope with. Well, we know that zinc helps in just about every other virus, like other cold and flu viruses, and so it seems it helps with this virus as well. So something like a zinc supplement is is good. You can get those from whole foods. You get zinc from whole foods as well. And then another thing that's more recent is melatonin. And there's people who have a better melatonin status seem to also fare better with this. Now the question is it the melatonin or is it the fact that you're just getting really good sleep? So, you know, it's important to get good sleep. Sleep is very important. And so, you know, just keep an eye. Maybe I can almost for sure say zinc is something that is going to be beneficial along with vitamin D, but melatonin may be something that seems to come to the fore as well. So, you know, for what I can say now is melatonin will help you sleep better, and sleep is a place where your body heals. So, you know, maybe get good sleep and keep an eye on whether melatonin is going to prove to be something that's beneficial or not.
All right, thanks for that. More questions? I'd just like to add just a few comments here because I'm not the expert, but I know I was reading some journal that was looking at the question of multiple sclerosis in Canada. And what they found out was it is very common among people of African descent. Now, in the Caribbean where I'm from, multiple sclerosis is not a very popular or common ailment, simply because I guess it has some link to vitamin D as well in the sun. But I think what has happened though is that people from the Caribbean who are here with dark skin, they don't feel the need to get the sun. So one of the possibilities, according to this journal, is that we definitely are not getting enough vitamin D because, you know, we think we don't need the sun, and it's somehow they detect a link between that and multiple sclerosis. Just thought I'd add that.
That's a good point. Yeah, can I just mention one thing? Yeah, I was working with a lady who had multiple sclerosis, and she gave me some stats, and what I recall is that the rate of multiple sclerosis in Canada was a lot higher than the US per person. Like they might have some cases in the US, but we have way more. So I believe too that it's related to vitamin D.
Yeah, in fact, Canada has one of the highest rates, if not the highest, could be second. I know Canada is very high on the list for that. And the thinking is because we're north, we don't get a lot of sun.
Saskatchewan's got the highest rate in the world.
Yeah.
Just I looked lately, but so it's almost non-existent near the equator, multiple sclerosis. And the further you move away from the equator, the more it seems to be prevalent, and then the further inland you move. So people get lots of vitamin D from fish in fishing communities, and so they tend to have less. So it's like the further north you go, the further inland, the further you get away from any vitamin D source, the higher the rate of multiple sclerosis. And so that seems to be, you know, if you live in the Caribbean until you're 18 and you move to Canada, you almost have you have almost no risk of getting multiple sclerosis. And if you live in Canada till you're 18 and you move to the Caribbean, you almost have the same risk of a regular Canadian of having multiple sclerosis. So it's something that happens in that first like 20 years of life with exposure to vitamin D. It seems to be really, really linked. Even mothers who are pregnant over the winter months in North America, their children have a higher risk of getting multiple sclerosis than mothers who are pregnant over the summer months. So, I mean, there's a link there with sun and vitamin D and MS. It's very strong. So if you're pregnant over the winter, take the
Sister Avonelle, Adam, and Rick, thank you so much for your information. I think it's been very helpful for me. I've done studies on nutrition. I've learned a whole bunch of things today too. I have a question. Could you speak a little bit more, since we're talking about vitamin D and the effects, and primarily a lot of the people on this call are of darker complexion for the most part. So could you speak about vitamin D and heart health, high blood pressure? Since we went on to MS, but could we talk about high blood pressure and vitamin D as well, please? Vitamin D, heart health.
Can I,
blood pressure and heart.
can I make a quick, sorry, Marie.
Yes, yes.
I was reading an article, very reliable article on the use of zinc as a supplement with the COVID. And one of the things that they mentioned was that people with blood pressure who are taking diuretics, I'm trying to think of hydrochlorothiazide. It was one of the diuretics, and it depletes your system of zinc, which is so important for your immune system. So people that have high blood pressure seem to be more prone to the effects, the severity of the impact that's a result of exposure to COVID-19. So I would say in particular for those individuals that they should take some extra supplements in zinc to compensate for that.
Okay, and about the heart health, any comments on that regarding lack of vitamin?
Was that a question or comment? I wasn't quite sure.
I think Maria asked about the link. Any suggestions regarding vitamin D and any link or possible link with lack of vitamin D and heart problems?
Yes, one can develop heart problems with vitamin D. And also bear in mind that vitamin D helps to keep your bones strong. That's why you have to take vitamin D with calcium or calcium with vitamin D. And it also helps to prevent also malacia or malacia pronunciation. It's a tongue twister. And some people can't absorb their calcium. And so they have to take it with vitamin D. And also, it helps parathyroid glands too, right? So it is as far as the heart is concerned, it can cause a lack of it thereof can cause high blood pressure. It can cause diabetes, especially in older people. And if it's really bad, it can also cause colon cancer, prostate cancer, and breast cancer, also multiple sclerosis. So, yeah.
Well, and at the same time, one has to be careful how they take calcium because that can harden the arteries. Is that correct?
Yes. It can cause plaques. It doesn't harden the artery like sodium does, but it can cause small plaques to clog your veins and arteries. Yes. You can get a stroke from it. Yeah. So it's like atherosclerosis, also arteriosclerosis, not arteriosclerosis.
So, Lorraine, the things that we recommend quite often in our office are a combination of different vitamins and minerals to including calcium and magnesium, vitamin D, boron, and vitamin K2. All of these work together for the absorption and the utilization of calcium and magnesium. And the studies that show that calcium was actually harmful were studies where they used very high dosages of calcium without these additional factors involved. When calcium is used in balance with magnesium and the other factors that are involved with metabolism, calcium is not a problem. It's only when you get advised to take say 1,000 or 1,500 milligrams of calcium a day, but you're not taking magnesium with that. Generally in our office, we recommend somewhere in the vicinity of around 500 milligrams of calcium with about an equal amount of magnesium with vitamin D, vitamin K2, and boron as well. So all of these things work together. If calcium is used right and properly, it's a very good thing to take. But it's when it's used isolated as one particular supplement without these other factors that it becomes a problem.
Yeah, the other thing is
yeah. Also, do not buy the caplets, please, calcium tablets. Buy the capsule, and there are very good calciums out there. Bone Up, AOR. These calciums are very, very good. And I think AOR and Bone Up are the best to me. Yeah.
That's the brand we use in our office too. Is that Avonelle? We use it's called Bone Basics. It's from a company called AOR from Alberta.
Yes,
and it has that combination. So that's what we actually use in our office as well.
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about. AOR and Bone Basics. Mm-hmm. Bone, and they call them Bone Up in America. Bone Up. Yeah.
So I'll make another quick comment about, because you're talking about heart health, Marie Angela. So one of the things that's really important, most of the problem is not worrying about plaques forming on your arterial wall. It's eating things that actually cause inflammation. So when your arterial, when the intima, which is the lining of the inside of the artery, is healthy, you don't get a buildup of this plaque. It's only when you have this inflammation that causes an irritation of the arterial wall, then plaque can start forming on the arterial wall. So you want to use, we use a lot of omega-3 in our office, which is usually a high concentration of omega-3 or sometimes just salmon oil. And that acts as an anti-inflammatory. Plus, of course, when we talk about the refined carbohydrates, all of those things should be avoided. So when you're talking about heart health, being sure that you avoid things that cause inflammation and taking supplements or eating a lot of fish. Better yet, if you want to do it that way, eat a lot of fish, mostly the oily fish like halibut, cod, salmon, all of those fish which are high in omega-3. And that, if you want heart health, that is maybe one of the key factors that should be a part of your diet.
Thank you so much.
Not any fish now, ladies and gentlemen, not any fish. If you consume too much fish, you know what will happen with all the toxins in the fish these days.
So of course you want to avoid any farmed fish of any kind. And the smaller the fish, like sardines and mackerel and that type of fish, salmon, which are low on the chain, the food chain, are far less likely to have the toxins that Avonelle is talking about. So you're absolutely right, Avonelle. You want to avoid some of the bigger fish that are higher up in the food chain, which have a greater tendency towards toxicity. But some of the smaller ones, like sardines and anchovies and salmon, those things are pretty. I think you're pretty safe eating that type of fish.
For me, I like tuna. Tuna is a big fish, but it comes from like deep in the Atlantic. Would it have the same kind of toxicity? Like?
It's the worst. That's the worst fish. First.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's smaller tuna and big tuna, right? So there's certain tunas that are all tuna has a little bit of mercury in it, but there's ones that are worse than others. Like I think albacore is the worst because it's the biggest, and skipjack is I think the smallest, and it's got less. But you have to be careful with tuna. You should really pay close attention to how much tuna you're eating, because it can have a lot of mercury.
Yeah, I don't eat it a lot, but I know I like it. All right, we have just time for one more question because we're almost at 4:30. Is there anyone who want to close it off with a question here? Please go ahead.
Just a quick question on the salmon oil, because I think Rick, you were telling us too that the salmon is good for the anti-clotting that's taking place with COVID. It's very difficult to get salmon oil that is not sitting in a gel with gelatin. Gelatin is from pigs. So how do you have any recommendations for salmon oil that doesn't?
So when we order our supplements in, we check to see not all of the capsules are made with pig gelatin. So many of them do not. So Natural Factors is a brand that we use. And it does not have the ones that we order, at least, have a gel cap that's not made with pig gelatin. It's actually clean food. It's made from bovine, actually. So the other thing that I'll focus on what you mentioned before, about the fact that many of the serious side effects from COVID-19 have to do with blood clots, and certain foods contribute towards blood clotting, and certain foods mitigate the clotting factor. So salmon oil is one of those factors. I take vitamin D as well, which also mitigates the factor. There are lots of foods like broccoli. Some of those foods from the cabbage family have the fact of and garlic, for example, do cause prevent the blood from clotting prematurely, and that's one of the major side effects from the COVID-19. So that's important.
Make sure you tell them that that you phone the company and ask them.
Yeah, so the company that we deal with is Natural Factors, and we actually called the company up to find out what's in their gel, and the one we use is called omega-3. It's RX omega-3, which is a high concentration of omega-3, but it doesn't have it is bovine capsule. But yeah, that's good point you make there, Angela.
This has been a very educational and informative discussion. It's not very often that we have it. I'm just wondering at this juncture whether are there questions that people still have that they want to ask that have been, curious about. It concerns your health, especially during this time. So if it's we can put off the Bible study for the rest of the afternoon because this is a very important subject. So if there are questions out there that people still want to ask, we can continue the discussion. So let us know.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Shanika. I just wanted to ask a question in regards to, obviously, we've been discussing the importance of immune health, which is very, very important. But my question is in regards to having optimal immune health, which is the goal. Does that ultimately prevent someone from contracting COVID-19?
So
I didn't hear the
most
question. Something was wrong with. I didn't hear the question at all. It's okay.
Can you hear me?
So I didn't hear it.
She talked about.
Shanika.
Okay, I'll let you repeat the question.
Yes, Shanika, you want to repeat the question? Thank you.
Okay, sure. Can you hear me though?
Yes.
Audio's okay. All right. So my question was in regards to having optimal immune health, which is the goal. Very good to have your immune health in order. Does that prevent someone from contracting COVID-19? I just wanted to clarify that.
So the answer to that is no.
Okay.
It doesn't prevent you from getting it.
The point is you will, the immune system will come in and fight. That will not prevent you from getting COVID, but your immune system will fight back. And chances are, it may not affect you much, at all, or maybe not at all. You will get a fever, maybe a slight cough, and you'll be okay. But it won't prevent you from getting COVID.
So it won't prevent you from getting it, but it might be a subclinical case of it, so that you don't experience any symptoms. But if you were to test your blood, it would indicate that you actually had been exposed to it. So it won't prevent you from contracting it, but it can certainly prevent you from it escalating into more serious condition.
Mm-hmm.
And I might just add too, we've seen and we've seen and heard rather cases where some people they have it but they just don't have any symptoms at all, whereas in other cases some people have it really, really bad, they even die. So would it be fair to say that this could be the reason when we have a weakened immune system that the virus just has its own way and could ultimately kill you? Would it be fair to conclude that?
Somebody want to take that?
Adam, do you want to answer
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, who wants to answer that question? I'm not sure. I would answer this, that it's not just a matter of your immune system being strong enough to deal with it. Sometimes, as Adam pointed out, it can be your immune system overreacting to it that cause many of the problems. So it's this balanced immune system, which is what vitamin D does and which is what zinc does, that is most effective in dealing with the virus, but not overreacting to the virus, which is so harmful.
I see. All right, thanks. I think Bernard, I saw your mic open. You wanted to ask a question?
Yes. Yeah, it was me. So do you guys have maybe a chart to show, based on age, what vitamins we should be taking? If someone is early 20s or someone is late 50s, what should they be doing to keep their health optimal in regards to vitamins?
There's no food out here that we don't have a protocol for food for the aged, food for teenagers, we have a protocol for daily food and that's it. But good food is good food and bad food is bad food. You consume bad food and it weakens your immune system. Yeah, that's all I can say regarding your question. There's no set protocol of their food. No, old. When you are older, you may require more nutrients in your food, like proteins for building and repairing. Vitamin D, you may be deficient in vitamin D. At that age, you don't need too much vitamin A because it can get very toxic. So, yes, just eat your food in its natural form. Actually, if you eat well, if you eat very well, you don't really need vitamins. That's my take on the vitamin thing. When I was a child, I never took vitamins. As a child, my mother gave me cod liver oil, and that was it. Before I went to school in the morning, I had a teaspoon of cod liver oil, and that was it. So if you eat well, you don't really need vitamins. And
can
I sorry. Okay, go ahead, Maria.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to say that what we have to consider is the country that we're living in, as it was mentioned before, and the fact that we have so many months of winter. And I don't know if it was Adam Dubler or Rick that had given a presentation at Feast of Tabernacles in, I believe, 2018, when I attended in Collingwood. And we had spoken on this subject of health. And he mentioned how important it was that we should be taking the vitamin D and the fish oil and the omega oil and the vitamin C's. And I never took vitamins. I never was one that bothered with vitamins because I always believed, when you're eating healthy, you really don't need. But I always had a real serious problem with the depression in the winter months. And of course, when I was living in Jamaica, it wasn't a problem. I was getting sunshine every day. But when I came back, that was a major concern for me, how I was going to deal with the lack of sunshine. Well, when I heard that presentation, I decided to jump on it. And I have been taking vitamin D faithfully. I mean, faithfully. As soon as it runs out, I'm running to buy more. The vitamin D3, the omega, I'm taking the omega 3s, and I'm taking the vitamin C every day. And I can tell you personally, for myself, I noticed a major, major difference in how I feel physically and mentally, that it has improved my health, my body, my mind, everything so much. So my answer would be that, especially during the winter months, all of us should be building our immune system by taking these vitamins, these extra vitamins, It cannot hurt. If anything, it helps. And if it's going to boost our immune system, just do it, because I've been bothering my kids and my grandkids and everybody. Take your vitamin D, take your vitamin D, take your vitamin D. And I think it's really, really important. That's my 2 cents worth.
Hi, it's
Thanks very much.
Shanika.
Thanks very much.
And I'll add
One at a time, please.
what Maria just said, just because it's right in line with what she just said. If it's a testimony, I've got one. I think it was late the 90s. Like my mom had a stroke in 94, December 94, and late 90s, I think, Rick, once you asked me, I think I was telling you that my mom was a bit depressed, because when you get a stroke, you do get depressed. And they'd given her Prozac. She did not like how it made her feel, and she actually threw it in the toilet. And I think I was talking to you, and you asked, there was a conversation with us, and you mentioned vitamin D. And I think there was another time when you were asking me how much vitamin D I took, and I told you about 1,000, and you said you're white, and you take, I think you said 2,000 to 3,000. So ever since then, I've been taking a lot more vitamin D. Like right now, I take 7,000 a day. And in terms of your mood, absolutely. My mom's mood, absolutely. So I agree totally with what Maria just said. It does make a difference for your mood. And in terms of your high blood pressure and those things, keeping the elasticity in your heart and in your veins, all of that, I think it really helps to keep the blood pressure at a temperate place. Thank you.
All right.
Hi.
Anika, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I was just going to add in that your vitamin and mineral intake is going to reflect the stage you are in your life, right? So for someone, for females that are of female childbearing age, they're trying to get pregnant, you're going to want to take your prenatal vitamins, and the focus of that is the folate or the folic acid, right? For someone like Maria said, in terms of where we live, it is cold. We're not going to get sunlight right now, really, and we're not going to go outside baring our skin. We're covered up. So yeah, vitamin D is a common deficiency, as mentioned throughout this discussion. It's definitely something that we need to look into supplementing to keep ourselves well. People that eat mainly plant-based diets should look into vitamin B12. If you're more athletic and you're doing weight training, your vitamin and mineral needs are going to change based on that as well, right? So you need to look into what your life situation is, what requirements do you need. I've actually looked into more vitamin D since I've been home, because it's been hard working from home in isolation, right? And that affects your mood. So it depends on what you require, what your body needs.
Thanks very much. I'll just throw out a question too as well. Maybe Sister Avonelle or Adam or Rick can take a shot at it. I've heard much about vitamin E as well. What is the role of vitamin E in immune health, if it has any role?
It's not nearly as important as those other things as far as your immunity. It tends to work more as an antioxidant at a cellular level, that it mops up a lot of the byproducts of the metabolic reactions that happen in your body that create damaging antioxidants. So vitamin E's role in immunity, the type that we're talking about, isn't as important or as those other things. It's more of, your body does these things that create free radicals, which are damaging to your tissue, and vitamin E, along with vitamin C, but really mop up those byproducts of metabolism, so that they don't create chain reactions that damage, your tissues and cells. So in that way, I mean, it's important, but it's not doesn't have, it's not the same type of function that vitamin E would have. It's definitely an antioxidant, and it does certain things, although it does seem to thin the blood. So it does make the blood less sticky in general. So that's important as far as the COVID goes, but it's important for everything. And vitamin E, really, if you're going to take a supplement, make sure it's a full spectrum vitamin E, not just the one alpha. The vitamin E, most people don't realize, comes in alpha, beta, delta, and gamma forms, just 4 different forms. Most supplements are just strictly that one form, and that tends to overwhelm the other ones in your body, and the other ones have very specific roles. One's more important in heart health, one's more important in arterial health. So it's important to make sure that you take a broad spectrum of vitamin E, so that you're not overwhelming the 3 that you've probably never heard about with the one that seems to be what the main supplement is. So that's all I would have to say about vitamin E, to be honest.
I would just add one more thing besides the full spectrum of vitamin E, which is essential, which is what you find in nature. You don't find them the isolated forms of vitamin E. So vitamin E is similar in one sense to vitamin B, in the sense that vitamin B is in one vitamin, B1, B2, B3, B6, B12. So vitamin E is similar to that in that respect. But one thing that you have to remember when you're buying vitamin E, never ever buy the synthetic vitamin E. The studies that have come out regarding synthetic vitamin E, I don't even know why it's on the shelf, is that for men it increases the risk of prostate cancer by about 12%. So you want to stay away from synthetic vitamin E like the plague. And if you're going to take vitamin E, take the natural full spectrum of vitamin E. And usually 400 international units is more than enough for most people. If you decide to go, that's an antioxidant, as Adam pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that vitamin E also is the vitamin that really fights free radicals. It prevents free radical damage. And when I say free radicals, those little guys that causes your wrinkles and speeds up the aging process. You have a fold here, fold there. When you eat fried foods, any kind of fried foods contains free radicals in huge amounts. And vitamin E can combat the effects of free radicals in the body. So it's the free radical fighter, vitamin E.
Yes, and I believe that is how it's marketed quite commonly, that it fight wrinkles and so on. And none of us, if we can, some of us who are getting on in age, if we can get rid of those wrinkles, I guess we'll grab onto anything. So I think that's where it came from. I saw it being marketed to get rid of all those wrinkles and the bag under the eyes and so on. Okay. Someone mentioned earlier about melatonin. Now, I take melatonin only when I need to sleep. I don't take it every day. But should that be something that is a daily supplement, or I'm not sure what role it has in all of this. We're talking about immune health.
I don't think there's it's just something that I would keep an eye on. It may be something that we can take every day. I wouldn't recommend it right now. Some people need it every day to sleep. I know lots of people that take it every day for sleep, but I don't, as far as this COVID thing goes, it's just something that I read that was interesting that I would just keep an eye on. It may turn out to be something that's promising, but it may also be just that people who have high melatonin sleep better, and that's helpful. So I wouldn't, it's not something I drive right now.
Okay.
Use it as needed.
So,
Go ahead, Sister Avonelle.
Also, people with GERD, I think GERD means gastroesophageal reflux disease. Reflux. So reflux is the word I'm looking for, right? So people with GERD, they need melatonin to help them with the stomach acid. And it also protects the esophagus from gastric acid erosion, and you know what acid can do to the stomach and food canals. People that have heartburns, and I suffered from GERD. It's a terrible thing because it's very difficult to get rid of, and your diet has to be really strict. And so people with GERD benefit from melatonin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I know it helps me with sleep for sure. So, at least I know one role.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any questions? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Any further questions? Anybody else?
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Sorry. Go ahead.
A question, comment that I've heard, and I don't know how correct this is, but in Jamaica, a lot of people have been using Moringa.
Yeah, Moringa. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the trees are all over the place, and it's supposed to be a really good cure for many things. And some people have been saying that, even for boosting the immune system, that it's good for that. I haven't myself personally tried it. I want to try it. I just have to find out where I can get it from. But has anybody else heard anything, or do they know anything about the Moringa leaves or the Moringa
powder?
Powder.
Oh, you can get it from Marie.
Yes. Okay, it is an immune system booster. In some places they use it as a cure-all. However, people never check the oxalate contents of these herbs. It's very high in oxalates. So yes, it's good for many things. But if you have kidney problems, gallstones, whatever, you can take it, but not too much of it, per day. But there are other things that you can take in place. But it's I believe that Moringa is overrated, personally. That's my personal opinion. It's overrated. Another thing I find with vitamins and all these supplements, people, even in the natural health industry, I mean allopathic medicine and conventional medicine, they talk about vitamins, take this, take that, take that, take that. They never think of, you can take vitamins, yes, but if you do not metabolize your vitamins properly, in other words, if you have a digestive problem, it's not good taking too many vitamins. You are better off eating well than pumping all these vitamins into your system. After a while, you may not feel it right now, but after years, you will feel the effects of vitaminosis. Is it vitaminosis or avitaminosis, if my memory serves me right? Anyway, problems with overtaking vitamins, consumption of vitamins. And most people don't address it. They never ask, what about your digestive system? Is it functioning right? Do you get indigestion? Do you have 3 bowel movements a day? You should have 3 bowel movements a day. And if you're having 1 bowel movement a day, don't bother pump your system with vitamins. It's just sitting there. It's just sitting there. Except well for the water soluble vitamins. You have water soluble vitamins, you have fat soluble vitamins. But if you're not having proper bowel movement, that means your digestive system is not functioning at its optimum. So don't over indulge in vitamins. I need that. And it sits right there. And when you hit 70, 80, then it shows its ugly face. And I'm speaking from experience, what I have seen. If somebody has something to say about that.
Mr. Avonelle, did you say 3 bowel movements a day? 3?
Yes, 3. You should have 3 bowel, meal in, meal out. When you get up in the morning, you should be passing your dinner. At lunchtime, you should be passing your breakfast. At dinner time, you should be passing your lunch. Yeah, that's a healthy bowel. Most people don't, but
heard it was one bowel movement a day was the health.
Well, that's the norm for the Western world, I suppose. People consume so much grains. Everything is grains. And grains are so inflammatory. I mean, it causes bread, grains, rice, pasta. They cause a lot of inflammation. And we consume bread, and after a while it takes its toll. And that's why so many people have to undergo surgery, all kinds of things for the digestive system. Yeah. So, but you see, the thing is, I go deeper than just the daily vitamins. I did homeopathy, and homeopathy goes deep into the research of what is causing what. We really go into it, right? And some people say, "Oh, Avonelle, you're talking nonsense," but that's the truth. Yeah.
I think, sorry. Thank you, Sis Avonelle, for the presentation, and Rick and Adam for your expertise there too. I think one of the things I'm seeing, and I'm just going back to that, I think maybe the original question that Shanika was asking about, if I remember correctly, if you take these vitamins and you try to maintain your immune system, if that's going to stop you from getting COVID. And of course, that was answered. The answer is no. I think what I'm seeing and what I'm getting from all of this is the need for balance in all that we do. So, for instance, you take care of your nutrition to take care of your, to help your immune system. But I think we need to have defenses on all sides. So, for instance, you read the Psalm where in Psalm 91, where the devil was trying to tempt Jesus, throw yourself down off this roof, because they said the angels would protect you. So we as believers, we also have to balance things in that we do the things to build our immune system, but then that doesn't mean that you just go out and you're going to eat with dirty hands, and where it says if you're in a place where you're mixing with other people with this thing with COVID now, you just throw off your mask and forget everything about that, because I take vitamins and I eat well, so why bother with putting on a mask when I'm mingling with other people? So I think it's taking all your complete armor that you have and everything that God makes available to us to use all these things, balancing your nutrition, building up your immune system. And you don't go to the other extreme to say, well, okay, I don't need vitamins. They have a vaccine now, so I can just take my vaccine and I'll be fine. I think there's a need for us to balance all of these things and how we live our lives to make sure that we don't tempt God, and we use all the things that are available to us, the knowledge He gives us to protect ourselves, to upbuild ourselves, and to have healthy and long life. That's my little piece to the discussion. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Ken. We're still open for some questions. We don't have a very long time start, because remember we have another activity at 6:30, because we won't be having the Bible study, so we may not go up to 5:30 depending on your input. So if you do have some questions, please go ahead with that.
I have a question. With the slide presentation, it mentioned avoiding or not taking too many leafy green vegetables because of the oxalates. But I was always taught that you do eat lots of leafy green vegetables for the folate. So could you just clarify that, Avonelle?
Okay, oxalates. Oxalates is a toxin found in green leafy vegetables. And oxalates can cause a host of different complications, mainly gallstones and kidney stones. So you want to avoid that. And you find that people, I have known people that eat 2 and 3, they eat 2 and 3 salads per day. And I had one patient that twice a year he was in surgery, removing gallstones. So because of the toxin, yes. And there are certain vegetables, some vegetables are higher than others in oxalates. And I noticed that in North America, people eat berry spinach like it's going out of style. And, oh, it is so nutritious. No, it's not. You know, it causes stones in your kidneys and gallbladder. And by the way, spinach has to be cooked. And you have to cook the life out of spinach to get anything from spinach. You have to boil it. That's the way the body recognizes the nutrients and absorbs it. Raw spinach, you do not absorb anything in raw spinach, except for the oxalates, of course, that goes into your kidneys
Okay, so just to clarify, then you're talking about spinach specifically as being high in oxalates, because I wasn't aware
as an example. I just used it as an example. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but isn't that the highest in oxalates of the leafy greens?
One of the highest, yes. I think Moringa is at par with spinach, but I don't quote me, I'm not 100% sure, but it's high in oxalates.
Because when I was doing kale pretty much every day, my cholesterol levels were really going down. I wasn't having any trouble with my alt levels. And now I'm having trouble with my alt levels. And so every time it seems that if I don't eat carbs, like if I don't eat bread, my cholesterol levels go down. Like so I gotta not eat bread and eat something. So I was, for a while I was doing kale, then this summer I was doing arugula, but my alt levels were going up.
The best, when you suffer from gallstones and cysts and all those things, the best leafy vegetables to consume, people may say, oh, it has nothing in it. It's iceberg lettuce. Believe it or not, iceberg lettuce has healing properties in it, healing properties in it. It may not be, they say, oh, it has no nutrients, but it is good for people that suffer from these. At least you're getting your fiber, right? When you eat iceberg lettuce.
What about broccoli?
Broccoli. Oh yes, broccoli is high in oxalates. Not too high, but it has oxalates in it, yeah.
And romaine lettuce?
Romaine is not too high. Romaine is good. Not too high. Romaine and iceberg.
So I'd like to comment on moringa. So moringa is a food that I've studied a lot of, and I have a lot of it as well. So if anybody needs, and I really mean it, if like not everybody, but if a couple people need some moringa, I do have some moringa that, because I have enough to last me for the rest of this year. So if anybody needs some moringa, I have leaves. You could blend it and make the powder if you want to. I do have enough that I could give some out if people need moringa. So if you look up moringa, moringa is a tropical plant, and it exists mostly in places where, most places actually that you can have famines, but the plant will still survive because even if it's very dry, its root system is very deep, so it finds water and it does survive. So even in places where there's a famine, if there is that plant, you won't die. It's like God has this thing set up so that even if there's a famine and there's moringa, you will be able to eat something. It's high in every single food type that you would need because it's a food. It's not a drug. It's a food. The number of oxalates in it is minimal, and there's a journal, academic journal it's an African Journal of Biotechnology. If you want, there's a full paper on the product. I could send it to you, or you could just Google it. Oh, you know what I could do? I could stick the link to it in. I'll put the link in the chat so that you can have that. Let me just copy it and paste it So this is a journal that you could take. I will put to everyone. And bear with me, I'm not as Speedy Gonzalez as these people are doing this all the time. Okay, so in terms of the oxalate, it's minimal, Sister Avonelle, so it doesn't have a lot of oxalates in it. It has more vitamin. The reason why it's good is because it has a lot more vitamin C. So it's 25, they say, times more iron than spinach. So if you weight for weight, it's going to be 25 more times than spinach, 17 more calcium than milk, times more calcium than milk, 15 times more potassium. This is, you have to watch this for people who have kidney issues, more than bananas. So that is one that you have to watch. 10 times more vitamin A than carrots, 9 times more protein than yogurt, and 7 times more vitamin C than oranges. So, and it has every vitamin that you can think of. And flavored flavonoids, it has essential amino acids, it has alkaloids, sterols, phenolic compounds, etc., and antioxidants included. So it's 36 anti-inflammatory agents it has in it, 18 amino acids, 9 essential amino acids, 92 nutrients, including vitamin, minerals, amino acids, fats, sterols, alcohols, ketones, acids, alkaloids, and flavonoids. So it's very good for you.
Yes, very good marketing strategy. Very good marketing strategy. Excellent. There are lots of them out there. You have to do your research. Nothing personal. Nothing personal, Sister Marie. Nothing personal. But yeah. Anyway.
Thank you.
So I just make, if I can make one comment. So Benita, your kale's actually relatively low in oxalates. I mean, comparatively, spinach and beet greens I think are the highest. Maybe Swiss chart's pretty high too. Most of the problems with oxalates occur with people who either don't metabolize them very well or are hyperabsorbers, and you end up with kidney stones. Those people really have trouble with kidney stones, and that's the main problem with oxalates. But you know, I would say you have to be careful with oxalates because your body, 80%, much like cholesterol, 80% of the oxalates that you make in your body come from, actually are made in your body. You'll make quite a bit more oxalates or oxalic acid inside your body if you have a decent amount of vitamin C intake versus whatever you can get from green leafy vegetables. Especially if you cook the green leafy vegetables, that helps with the oxalates. One of the big problems with oxalates is that they'll bind to minerals, and so you don't get the absorption of the minerals. And if you cook say spinach, if you really cook it for a long time, you break down the oxalates, but then you also get rid of some of the nutrition in there. So yes, but most people don't have an issue with, unless they have GI issues or they have if they're kidney stone formers. And if you're a kidney stone former, then you stay away from oxalates. And you probably maybe limit your vitamin C, although vitamin C gets a bad rap because it looks like the only time you have problems with vitamin C and kidney stones is if you're not getting enough B vitamins. And if you get lots of B vitamins, then the correlation between vitamin C and kidney stones goes away. But I mean, you're making about 80% of what your body has in oxalates are made within your body. So you can, you can limit your intake, but I mean, if you cook it right, those green leafy vegetables are going to provide you with a decent nutrition. You just need to cook them. And to have the occasional spinach salad isn't going to increase your oxalate the internal oxalate substantially. No, I mean, if that's all you're eating and you happen to be somebody who is prone to kidney stones, then you're going to be in trouble, right? So, but I hesitate to steer people away from some of those vegetables because they do have some nutritional value, and if you cook them right, I mean, and really, it's boiling. When you boil them, a good bit, it really helps get rid of oxalic acid problem. That's my own 2 cents.
Now, apart from vegetables, are there any other foods that are high in oxalates?
Lots,
Some nuts
yeah,
that are, for
lots
sure.
of food. Huge list.
Example, just give us some examples.
Almonds. Almonds would be one. Yeah, and I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of any other ones, but I know
Are
that
kidney
some- I know
beans?
that that's
Are
something.
kidney beans high? Red kidney beans high in oxalate?
Yes. If you're a beer drinker, don't drink too much beer.
Okay.
Don't eat
Black beans.
don't eat
number
too much
one.
beets. Beets.
Number one. If you just do
Don't
Google
eat,
it,
fruitcakes with berries in them, or eating berries, raw fresh berries. Oh, chocolate! You're a chocolate lover, please. Cocoa is very high in oxalates. Coffee, if you're a coffee drinker, is high in oxalates. Black tea. Well, we mentioned dark greens. Nuts. Oh, nuts are very high.
All nuts?
What? So,
All nuts.
I got a question.
All nuts are high in oxalates.
I don't think the beet root is, it's the beet greens though.
Pardon me? I didn't hear.
The beet, he said beet.
Yes, I mentioned beets are
I
high.
don't, but it's just the beet greens, right? Not the root.
Oh, the green leaves of the beet.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, the beets too. The leaves alone cannot carry the oxalates. The beets have the oxalates too. Yeah. But the leaves maybe have it higher.
Yeah. What about okras?
No, okras are okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Soda, Coca-Cola, and all those cola drinks are not good. Sweet potatoes, don't binge on sweet potatoes either. And wheat bran, or rhubarb also, rhubarb.
Hi, it's Shanika. I think in terms of health and the way you approach health is a very holistic, so it encompasses all aspects of your life, including what you're taking in terms of vitamins, minerals, your medicine, what your physical activities like. It's a holistic approach. And one thing prescribed for health defined by someone is not going to be a blanket statement for everyone, right? So, and again, I'll throw in there this, I think most people know, everything in moderation. You know, there's good vitamins and minerals in every food that we eat, but you're supposed to eat a variety from the food group and just in general, right? So that you're getting a little bit of everything from what you're taking into your body. So I think you need to look at it holistically in terms of your approach to health. Now, if you have a health condition, obviously go see your doctor and approach that specifically as prescribed, and do your research from reputable sources and things like that. But it's not an individual, it's not just a blanket statement, the approach to health and minerals and things like that.
That's a given. That's for sure.
Thanks very much, Shanika.
I want to make a comment. I've been to my doctor, and I have an immune situation, and the doctor told me to stay out of the sun, and that is for years now. Have you ever heard that?
Yes, I have. Can anybody hear me?
Have you?
Yes, I have heard of people not being able to tolerate the sun because of some kind of autoimmune disease, but I don't know which disease though. There's a name for one of them that I know, if my memory would serve me right.
Oh no, this one was about lupus. And even though I'm even though I'm taking that vitamin D3, 3D or whatever, D3, he told me years ago to stay out of the sun. So I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Sister
I've
Rose,
heard of it. I just, yes.
Yeah.
Now
Sorry.
that you're saying that, I remember. Yes,
Yeah.
lupus erythematosus, not erythematosus, so erythematosus. Lupus erythematosus, like erytho something. These terminologies are tongue twisters. Yes, with lupus, you have to stay out of the sun, away from the sun. When it comes to I did vaccines in training about lupus. I never really, yeah.
Yeah, I know I had a coworker like that. In fact, she came from Jamaica, and she's been here for quite a few years now, and she can't go in the sun. She just told me she had a sickness, but she didn't say what it was. But she can't go. The doctor told her not to go, to avoid the sun as well. So maybe it's a similar condition.
Sometimes you have to avoid the sun if you're taking certain medications also. So it could be based on a medication that you're taking that the doctor will tell you to don't be in the sun.
It's a very, very difficult disease because what happens is the body cells attack itself, as in any other autoimmune disease. And it affects I think it affects your joints and your skin and your heart, your lungs, your blood, almost every organ.
Well, Sister Avonelle, none of the above.
No, I said lupus can do that, but it can affect people differently, but it can include your skin and your joints and your heart, your blood. Yeah, some people get very, very sick with lupus, A terrible thing. Yeah.
Thank you. It's just the skin it affects here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But for like that sister said, it may be the medicine because it's hydrochloroquine, that Donald Trump medicine that they gave for it. So it may be the medicine. I agree. Thanks.
Yeah.
Clementia?
And what is specific about lupus? What is very specific about lupus is if you develop a rash or you have anywhere, and it has a butterfly type of shape, then it's lupus. It's shaped like a butterfly, almost always.
Mm-hmm. Clement, you had something to say. Thank you, Sister Rose. Clement, you have something to say?
Okay, like I said, I have a Moringa. I had them from Ghana. I have the powdered one, so anybody wants some, I can give them some. And then the second thing is, Sister Elizabeth is in Ghana now, and they have come out with a medicine called Vacal 20. They are sort of from 100 plants. I told Louis I want to buy some from a couple people for them to try them. So I'm not going to mention the names, but if anybody wants Moringa, I have some here, so I can give them the powdered one.
All right, thanks for that, Clement. Seem to have a Moringa glut here. That's good news.
Yes.
All right.
I just have a question. It could be off topic, but I've always noticed this ingredient in majority of the products that I buy. And I don't know if they need it for some sort of stabilization within the product, but does anybody know why they use soy lecithin in a majority of the products? Because I don't really like soy, and I'm trying to get away from soy products, but they always have it in almost 99% of the things that I look at have that soy lecithin thing in there. Can anyone speak to that?
That was not very clear. I didn't hear. My phone was cutting you off every now and then, so I didn't hear that.
She's wondering about it. Sorry.
Is it lecithin You said lecithin. Is it?
Yeah, soy lecithin, whatever it's pronounced.
Lecithin.
I don't know how to pronounce that name, but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
What
soy
about
lecithin.
soy lecithin?
It's a common ingredient in many products. I've seen it myself. So she's wondering if you have a take on that, whether it's something we really need because she doesn't like soy to take soy products.
And also the stearates.
Okay.
If you speak to that, that's in every single medication, like any pill, it'll have stearates in it. Could you also speak to that as well while you're at it?
Soy lecithin is very. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Soy lecithin has its role. People that are people on paleo diets, vegan diets, they can't consume any other lecithin but the soy. And I have taken soy lecithin before, and it works as good as any other. I have not had a problem with soy lecithin. But then if you're allergic to soy, then, that becomes a problem, right? For some people, soy lecithin is no good for some people. And let me add that you do not get complete protein or anything to do with, okay, let's stick to complete protein in vegetables. Complete protein only comes from animals. And some people don't realize that. Right? So, and the quality of lecithin varies also. All lecithins are not created equal. So if you're going to be buying lecithin, buy one from a reputable company. And if you're vegan, maybe the lecithin you can take or paleo, or even the autoimmune protocol, the autoimmune diet, which is amazing. Oh my goodness. And I have to tell anybody with autoimmune problems, the autoimmune diet or protocol is the best thing to heal you. And I should not be using the word heal. I take that back. But yeah.
And when you say autoimmune, could you break down that a little for some of us? When you say autoimmune system, is
and all the autoimmune diseases that I mentioned, lupus, psoriasis, all the diabetes mellitus, all the autoimmune diseases I mentioned. People right now they have a diet out there called the autoimmune diet, and you must hear the testimonial on the autoimmune diet, how people are getting healed from autoimmune diseases. Amazing. It is not an easy diet to maintain, but it works. It works. So anybody with a computer or phone, you can Google the AIT. It's called the AIT diet. And for some people, especially we people from the Caribbean, we like our spicy foods and our, we like good food. But sometimes you just have to make the sacrifice. Yeah.
Adam, you were going to say something about the question that Jesse asked.
But you find soy lecithin. I mean, lecithin is they use soy because it's probably the cheapest way to get lecithin. You can find lecithin in all kinds of different places, but you're probably getting very small amounts as a food additive. I mean, they sometimes will use it. It's an antioxidant, so it protects the food from degrading and going rancid. So they'll use it for that. Often they'll use it as they use it basically so that the food doesn't go bad. It's a relatively natural antioxidant, and sometimes they'll use it as an emulsifier. So when you've got fat and water soluble things together, they'll add a little bit of this to help keep help them from separating. For the most part, it's probably I don't know where you're seeing it, but it's probably way down the list in your ingredient list. There's usually very little of it in there. And so they're just extracting the lecithin out of the soy. I mean, you get some of that's, I think wheat germ is fairly high in lecithin. I think, egg yolks also have lecithin. So, but what they're using it for isn't necessarily as a nutrient, more as it is as something to keep the food stable, so that it doesn't break down, so that or go rants or go bad as well, because it's an antioxidant. So, I mean, I think you'd have to be really sensitive to it, and some people are, but yeah, it's not going to be a significant source of soy in your diet, if that's what you're worried about. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of soy in that. Because
well, you know what lecithin is used for, right? Why should one use lecithin? Do you know what it's used for? I'm addressing the question to the audience. Lecithin is used to emulsify bad fats. That's the main function, right? Know that, right? So, what was I going to say? Yes. Yeah. Lecithin can be derived from soy. If you're not careful, the type of lecithin that you buy, they can be laden with toxins. So please do not buy GMO lecithin. Buy the non-GMO lecithin. Genetically modified lecithin, do not buy them. Buy the organic ones.
Sister Avonelle, the question that Jessie was asking, she was saying that in many of the vitamins, there's soy lecithin, and she wanted to know the impact of that, so that it's not that she's buying the lecithin, she's just the source being from the soy. She didn't like the fact that it was from soy.
Oh,
so
okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all soys are not created equal. We all know that. And the GMO soys are terrible to consume. If it's GMO, please don't buy it. Yeah. And that's why so many people have allergic reactions to soy, because it is so genetically modified. And so when you're shopping for your soy, lecithin or whatever soy, make sure you get a good organic brand soy.
All right. Thanks very much for that, Sister Avonelle. We're at 5:28. We really don't want to go beyond 5:30. We've had a solid 2 hours of this subject, and we have our games night coming up at 6:30.